Good afternoon and welcome to Beer with the Old Growler. I'm the Old Growler, Pete LaFrance, and I'm glad to be with you this afternoon. I tell you that is true. All right, today is, if I have it right, Monday, the 18th of May, 2020. And this is the 41st edition of the Old Growler. And this is the 63rd day that we have been sheltering in place here in Brooklyn. And as a author and writer and a journalist and a vlogger that covers the beverage industry, I want to tell you that it's been a tough road. So anyways, the reason for doing the Old Growler, it can be found on the front page of this channel, and the Old Growler, I'll explain it right to you there, all the reasons that we're here. Okay. It's been around, as I've just said, for 41 different Old Growlers. It's every weekday, Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock. And we've started to develop a little bit of a pattern, I think, and I'm starting to feel comfortable with it. We started out as if it was a bar, and that was my folks. I was hanging out with my bar friends. Well, yes, it is, and it's maintained that as well. But what we've got is a format now that we've got a nice beer tasting to start right out after this introduction. We'll get to it. First of all, I have to have myself a beer, though. I got to wet my whistle and get ready for the beer tasting, and we do the beer tasting, and it's pretty much the same format as we used to do at the old Henry Street Ale House. And you can go back and take a look at the play sheet playlists that we have. It's called Henry Street Ale House Tastings, and we would hold every Thursday. We would have a couple of beers, and would be sent to me by one of the brewing companies, and we would sit there, and bartender and manager Jerry Scott, myself, Jim Bennison, usually at least 2 or 3 other people. We'll sit there, we'd take a look at a can of beer, and in fact today we're going to be trying Vliet from Threes Brewing Company here in Brooklyn. And so we take a look at the label and take a look at the presentation. We'd read everything that we could possibly get off of it as far as somebody looking to see what type of beer it was, and then we would say, well, what do we expect? And we would crack it open, Jared crack it open, pour the samples, and we would decide whether it met expectations or not. So that was the way we had it in the past, is did it meet expectations or did it not meet expectations? Well, now that we're doing it in this format, we're going to do it a little bit differently. It's going to be a 1, 2, or 3. If it meets expectations, it gets a 2. If it doesn't meet expectations, if it exceeds expectations, it gets a 1. If it meets expectations, it gets a 2, and if it doesn't meet expectations, it gets a 3. So we're going to do a 1, 2, and 3, and we'll see how each one of them shows up. And as I say, today we're going to be trying a beer from the Threes Brewing Company here in Brooklyn. Now, the second part, if you folks hang out even after the tastings, for those who will hang out after the tastings, we get to part 2. And that is essentially my life as a professional barfly. And these are stories that go over 40 years that I've been covering the hospitality, beer, and wine and spirits industries. And I've got a few old war stories to tell. And what I'm going to concentrate are talking about a particular bar, tavern, restaurant, or a particular dinner that I attended, and why I attended, what I learned there, most importantly, so that it does, every time that you would go to one of these events or that it would happen, take a little bit away from it. If you were smart enough to be a halfway decent journalist, which apparently my publishers and editors thought I was or think I am. All right, enough of the introduction. That took me 5 minutes. Well, it's time to, let's see, hold on. Let me just move this over here. Yeah, there we go. It's time to crack open a beer, because the Old Growler is thirsty, Now, this is going to scare some people, especially those of you who have been following me for a while, and those of you who haven't, those of you who are just dropping in. This is going to really scare you. Unfortunately, on Mondays, the Henry Street Ale House is not open, so I cannot go across the street or across the park and get myself a growler. So I have to rely on what's in the fridge. Now, sometimes what's in the fridge can be a little freaky, but so many times when you are presented with a situation, you simply have to make the best of it. Now, I'm going to make the best of this. Well, what am I going to drink today? Well, I've got some Miller High Life. Now, I hold nothing against the large brewers. In fact, I wouldn't hold anything against them at all if I could, but here we are. So I'm going to crack open, and let's just take a look at it. It's established in 1903. That does a wonderful world. Miller High Life, the champagne of beers. Notice it used to be the champagne of bottle beers. And is there any? They have made it almost impossible to read whatever it is on the back here. It tells me how many servings. It tells me what the carbs are. Oh yeah, 4.6% alcohol by volume. So they got it on there. All right, well, it's the last time I had a Miller High Life. Oh, shut up, Peter, and drink the beer, or try to. This was not sent to me by the Miller High Life people. This was purchased at a bodega for $2.29. So we'll crack this open and, well, we'll go slumming. Boy, I feel like I'm back in the 1960s. Boy, wouldn't that be great? Let's have a Miller High Life, the champagne of bottled beers. Take 4. All right, well, as you can see, the bubbles are rather large, which is normal. The head is there. It's as white as a dove, and well, although I've never seen a white dove, I've seen. Yes, I have. Well, anyways, for those of you who are hanging out here, we've got a couple of you folks. Good to see you. But cheers. No, it wouldn't kill you. In fact, you know something? I've got an idea. I've got a brainstorm. Not this week. This week we're doing Brooklyn beers, but next week I'm going to have my wonderful wife Virginia. I'm going to have her wrap 2 different cans of beer, 2 16-ounce cans of beer. One of them's going to be a Miller or a Coors or a Bud or something that's really a mega beer. We're going to wrap 2 of them in white paper, so I can't see what the label is. And we're going to crack them open, and we're going to see if the bright beer boy here can actually tell the difference between. Yeah, that's a good idea, because this is pretty refreshing for a Miller. It's a beer you don't have to think about. That's for freaking sure. Okay, well. It's easy to pour. It's got a nice head. I mean, if you're going to talk, it's clear and unoffensive. There's nothing I can say bad about this, and I'm flabbergasted. But so never think that you know absolutely everything. Always never assume. From the old Odd Couple show there, never assume. You make an ass out of you and me. Well, I assumed on this one. And for those of you who stay around and listen to the story about the Virgil's barbecue, you'll see something else about something you should never assume. Okay, for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm glad to have you. For those of you who have been around a while, uh, it's good to see you again. And for those of you who are, as I say, for those of you who are new, do me a favor at the end of this. If you enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you really enjoy it and you want to see when all of the well, you already know that it's going to be daily, but if you need to be reminded, click on the alert bell there, and you will be able to see when we go on to the next tasting. Okay, we got, as I say, the feature tasting today, and it is the Threes Brewing Company. We're joined by, I've mentioned it before, but we're joined this particular tasting by Gary Monterosso. He runs What's on Tap down in South Jersey on WOT, Comcast Channel 22. And they've been looking for some content, and so I'd be perfectly willing to have you guys visit here along with the Old Growler and have a taste of this beer along the same format as we are doing, as meeting expectations. 1, 2, or 3. If it exceeds expectations, it gets a 1. If it meets expectations, it gets a 2. If it doesn't meet expectations, it gets a 3. Well, what are we expecting? Okay. Well, the beer of the day comes from the Threes Brewing Company in Brooklyn, New York City, located in the now-fashionable Gowanus Neighborhood. This is a busy brewery, brewpub that in better times would be thronged most summer weekend and afternoons. Sunday, the Old Growler had a 4-pack delivered to this apartment here for $16 a 4-pack. I had 2 other beers delivered, and we'll be featuring them later in this week. But today, we've got us it is pronounced according to them, Vliet, V-L-I-E-T. Now it's got a very aqua-looking label, very aquatic. Threes Brewing Company on there. Vliet, it's Pilsner, 1 pint. It is batch number 35, packaged on April 16th, 20. I stumble on that because I'm used to doing date, month, year, and here in the United States you do a month, date, and year. So, anyways, it was the 24th of last month. Okay, brewed and packaged by Threes Brewing at Industrial Arts, 55 West Railroad Avenue in Gainesville, New York, 10923 for the Threes Brewing Company. Okay, so kids, this was not brewed in the wonderful Gowanus Neighborhood. This was brewed at the brewery upstate. According to the Surgeon General, I shouldn't be pregnant and drink this. Okay, well, it doesn't tell us much. It just tells us that it's a Pilsner. It just doesn't have any alcohol by volume on here either. So, or hops or anything. So what do we expect? Well, if I'm to believe the label, it's a very aquatic beer, so watery. It's a Pilsner, so light colored. And that's it, folks. So what are we expecting? We're just expecting an aquatic, a watery, kind of clear Pilsner. All right. Let's crack it open and see what we've got. Ready? I should do it from your right hand, Peter. Don't be shy. Treat it right. Okay, well, there we go. We've got a very light colored straw, almost, not even straw. It's a very light colored beer. It's got a well-knit head. Oh, dear. Okay, don't comparisons are odious. A well-knit head. Let's get some aroma here. Let's see what kind of a. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of hops, so for sure. There's a real aromatic flavor, aroma of again floral, like walking into a florist shop. Well, all right, let's give it a try. The aromas follow right through into the flavor. Boy, what my nasal passages and sinuses were picking up is echoed dead on with the flavor, and underlying it, a very nice, kind of refreshing, but slightly sweet malt, kind of not a caramel, but a roasted grain, a nice roasted grain flavor, a little bit of say a toasted muffin, a Parker House roll. But not yeasty. But boy, the hops at the beginning of this really do come out. So I was expecting a much lighter flavored beer, a much less complicated beer. Not that it's complicated, but there are many levels to this one. To where I know, odious. There's definitely a lack of grain here, to where in the Threes, it's got a really nice grain underlying flavor, and it's not particularly roasted, but it's grainy. It's you recognize the flavor as grain, and slightly toasted, but not really toasted. It's a nice, refreshing, light undertone. So, does it meet expectations? I'm going to give this a 1 because it exceeds expectations. It met expectations with the number 2. Yes, it did, and it certainly did not miss or go lower than expectations. It was this one. We're going to give this one a number 1. Okay. So, did Vliet Pilsner from Threes Brewing Company meet expectations? It exceeded expectations. That's for sure. And that's what the Old Growler is going to tell you. Now, I have some cheat sheet here, which you can probably get in the information box below because I'll be adding it to it. But it is made with German Pilsner malt. So that's where it's a single malt, which is I think is an ideal thing to do, because that way you can concentrate on the hops. And according to the cheat sheet, the hops are Czech Saaz and German Spalt Select. Now, the Saaz, S-A-A-Z hops, that is a real classic Czech hops, which Bohemia was the original name of that area, the Bohemians, and it's a noble hop, is what it is. It's one of the classic hops of all times, as well as the Spalt. So it's kind of nice that they put the German and the Czech together on this one, and they say it is pronounced VL-EE-T. So I'm assuming it's Vliet. It's their signature award-winning Pilsner from the Dutch for minor stream. The name is a nod to our flagship brewery in Brooklyn, near the Gowanus Canal. Clean and aromatic, complex yet crisp, it defies expectations of what might expect from a lager. Yes, kids, it does. It does exceed. Well, that was a most pleasant surprise, although I have walked past the Threes many times on our way to Little Neck, which is a nice little clam shack, if you can call it a clam, if you envision a clam shack in the middle of Park Slope. But anyway, congratulations to the Threes. I look forward to trying another Brooklyn beer tomorrow. What are we going to try? I'll let you in on a secret. It's going to be single cut, and it's their watering can, a green watering can. So we look forward to that. That's what we are. Okay. Now, for those of you who are leaving, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And pass this on to some of your friends. I'd really appreciate that. Okay, for those of you who are going to stay for the second part, my life as a professional barfly. And let me just reiterate that I have spent 40 years covering the malt beverage industry and written a couple of books. You can check them out. They're Beer Basics by Peter LaFrance and Cooking and Eating with Beer, also by myself. Okay. Well, one of the fun things about being a journalist and after covering or after publishing Cooking and Eating with Beer, I was able to continue freelancing and was running a newsletter and also a website called Beer Basics, which is undergoing some construction, but it's still there if you can find it. Well, of course you can find it, because I'm going to have some links in the information box below about the topic I'm going to talk about today. And it was my chance to go and visit Virgil's. Virgil's a barbecue in Times Square, and I had a chance. Was asked by the PR people to come visit, and they were going to taste beers and put it together with some of the chef's signature dishes. So it was one of the first times that I'd had a chance to really personally get out and visit a restaurant and a chef. The book itself was written by mainly phone interviews, and Cooking and Eating with Beer, I let the chefs do the talking. They explained it to me. I was simply the conduit so that they could explain what the recipes were about and how food and beer was involved in their recipes. And so I let them do the talking. But in this case, I had a chance to go and meet the chef, and it was Chef Neil Corman. And this is the book that we traded. I traded my beer base, or my Cooking and Eating with Beer, for this, and it is. Let's see when I can't tell when this was published, but let me just open it up here. And copyright, please, 2014. Oh my dear, how could 2014? It couldn't have been. Well, my sense of time has certainly been condensed, and well, what the heck. Anyways, it's a great little book, and we had a chance. Oh, that's why. Okay, brain lapse there for a minute. He was working on this when we got together, and I remember his publicist was there at the lunch, and we were talking about recipes. And I had just studied a little bit of copyright law and found out that recipes in themselves are not copyrightable because they're simply a list of ingredients. However, as soon as you start to talk about the assembly of the ingredients, that's copywritten. So if you really wanted to make sure that your recipes were not lifted, you would recite the story of how to put together the dish without the ingredients, which would be a nice trick. But in any event, the publicist was her ears dried up at that, and so he was working on this while I went to see him. And the background of Virgil's is that Carmine's, which is again another famous restaurant in the Times Square and Upper West Side area, was put together by a fellow by the name of Artie Cutler, and in 1993 he was doing very well, and so he decided he was going to put together a barbecue place. He wanted to expand his restaurant empire, and that's always what you're trying to do, is to get bigger and better. Well, we used to try and get bigger and better, but he found a nice address there at 152 West 44th, and so he began. He acquired the place, and he started out to do barbecue. And to do that, I give him immense credit for this. And I must say that I am a little bit biased because I have visited the place many times since the interview, and have always been impressed with the quality and quantity of the foods. Please God, it still is a very busy place. It's a 2-level restaurant. Downstairs, it's got when you walk right in, there's a bar to the left-hand side, and they've got all kinds of southern beers there, lagers, of course, and light stuff. But the thing that impressed me the most when I spoke with the chef was the fact that he and the owners had gone out and really traveled around the United States to find out what barbecue was like. And when you say barbecue, when anybody says barbecue, most of the time it's grilled meats. Well, barbecue, real barbecue is, and this again I learned from visiting, is smoked meats. And throughout, if you say barbecue, that's like saying to someone from Texas that there's chili. Well, there's chili con carne, there's chili with beans. Chili is never with beans. Shh, don't say that. But as far as barbecue goes, the map alone, we can take a look, and it goes all the way from here. We got North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. There are in Carolina. There's on the far eastern coast there. The barbecue sauce is made with tomato base. And once you get into the mountains, it's more with vinegar. You get towards Kansas City, and there's a whole different type of barbecue. And God bless, if you get into Texas, especially up in the Panhandle, where the Germans were, they're barbecuing, they're smoking sausages and all kinds of good stuff. So it is really a wonderful experience to explore the world of barbecue. And I found out very quickly, talking to the chef about that it was the combination of beers and barbecue. And the most essential part of barbecue is how long it takes. And again, this is one of the things about Virgil's. It was in their publicity, they say Virgil's was the original New York City barbecue restaurant. I take exception to that. There was a place down in Soho, and it was called Brothers Barbecue. And when I mentioned North Carolina mountain, when you go up into the Smoky Mountains up there near Asheville and Hendersonville, there was that type of smoky mountain barbecue that was done with the vinegar sauce. And this boy, he had him say it was a tiny little place, Brothers was. And I remember going there when I was at media, so it had to have been in 1991. And so that was certainly before Virgil's. But then Brothers went over to another address. They got very big, and I think I lost track of them a while ago. But the concept of barbecue and beer always goes together, because one of the things about barbecue is it takes so long. And I was just about to add a little bit of information. There at Virgil's, their meats are smoked at a low temperature, and that's probably around 250 degrees, or maybe less, with a mix of hickory, oak, and fruit woods to impart a moist flavor and keep the meat from drying out. And that's pretty much the truth. And so it takes a while, and sometimes 8 to 10, 12 hours, depending on what you're barbecuing and what you're smoking, what you're barbecuing, please. And to go along with it, it takes time. And so there's always plenty of beer to sit there and wait while you're smoking your pork and ribs and brisket, etc., etc. Now, the link below has an interview with Neil Corman, and we talked mostly about fried chicken now. So it was very funny to be in a smokehouse there and talking about fried chicken. But it was great, and I enjoyed it tremendously. But now we get to the learning lesson. As a journalist, what did I learn from this experience? Well, I learned about barbecue. I did learn about that a little bit more than I had before. I didn't know there were a couple of different barbecues. I knew Kansas City barbecue, but some of the others blew me away. And as far as the fried chicken goes, those tips worked very well, especially when I put them together with my mama's recipe for chicken from North Carolina. She was from Mama and Papa lived in Charlotte. And summertimes we would drive, my mother and father would drive us down to Charlotte, and we would have summertime in Charlotte. And one of the most fun parts about it was sitting out on the porch. They had a screened-in porch, and every afternoon at 4 o'clock it would rain for about a half hour, and then get incredibly humid. And then supper time around 6 o'clock. And that was when I had my chance to try some real Southern fried chicken, and then it tasted, well, Chef Corman came pretty close. But I'm not here to talk about fried chicken. I'm here to talk about being a journalist and what I learned. Well, I'll tell you what I learned on that interview. Always test your equipment before you go on an interview. I was lucky to have an extra with me. And when I say extra, camera. The camera that I took was a single lens reflex electronic Canon, and I had not tested it before I went, because I figured a camera is a camera is a camera. No, Peter, it's not. So when it came time to operate the equipment, boy, did I have trouble. However, I saved my butt, because I did have a small point-to-shoot camera, and that is the camera that took the video you will see of the chef. Well, let's see. We're at 5:32. Yes, sir, Bob. And if you've lasted this long, I do thank you very much. I hope you have subscribed. I trust that you will click on the alert bell down there, so that you will always know when something new and exciting is coming from the Old Growler. And the thumbs up. Boy, I tell you, we've got 3 thumbs up today. I do appreciate that. I truly, truly do. And yes, I am sampling some of the Miller here. Oh, because I can drink it right down, and it'll do me no harm immediately. And so anyways, I would love to hear what you folks think of the new format for the Old Growler. And for those of you who are just stopping in, it is good to have you here. And particularly if you've gone this long. Boy, you've gone a full half hour. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Anyways, it has been an interesting, let's see, we got to 63 days, so that's 2 months. Been an interesting 2 months and a little bit. Rumor has it, I was watching Governor Cuomo speaking earlier, that things are going to start to loosen up. Unfortunately, there's a small situation between deciding whether New York beaches, city beaches, and state beaches open at the same time. And we've got Memorial Day coming up. Today is the 18th. This is Monday, the 18th of May, 2020. So we've got another week to go. In fact, a week from now will be Memorial Day. I'll have to think of something interesting to do for Memorial Day. That is for sure. But in any event, things aren't as easy as, well, things aren't easy. Let's just put it that way. and it is going to take a little while to get through things, and that is why the Old Growler is here. Once things start to get back to normal, in fact, one of the good signs I heard today was that they are going to allow tables outside of restaurants, particularly here in the city, but also outside, and so parking lots possibly, particularly out on Long Island. Restaurants can have seating outside, and that would expand. It wouldn't expand the numbers of people there, but it would certainly allow them to stretch out a little bit more and be able to go into a more full service than they are right now. But everything slowly, and I'm going to mention just one thing, and that is I grasp the situation, I think, a little bit better than some, because having survived cancer, you realize that you're in a marathon. This isn't a dash. We're not going to run to the finish line. No. It's going to take a while, kids. That's for sure. And on that happy note, happy notes before I leave, I'm going to let you, again, we're going to go back and take a look at this, what we're going to be tasting tomorrow, the single cut. And the single cut, they call it, let's see, what this one is called. It's, I think it's good. It just looks like a green watering can. So that's going to be especially fun to try and read the label of that. And I'm not going to get the cheat sheet out. No, sirree, we're going to do that. Well, there's 4 of you here today. There was a couple more on earlier lurking around, but I want to thank everybody for being here. It is now 37 minutes and a little bit long, so it's we're kind of closing this off at a little bit. It used to be an hour, now it's a half hour. I'd like to go to 45 minutes though, so we're going to see how things progress over this week, particularly now since we have a little bit of a theme and a rhythm going. And I look forward to seeing you folks tomorrow, and anybody who stops by. For those of you who are watching this at another date, I certainly salute you and hope that in the end, all of your beers and hopes meet expectations. See you tomorrow.